afternoon and welcome to the 2016 Business Summit and State of the City Address. My name is Katie Simmons. I am President and CEO of the Chico Chamber of Commerce, and I'll be your MC for the afternoon. I would like to start by thanking all of you for joining us on a Friday afternoon in the rain, so thank you for doing that. What we hear today really sets the tone for all of our civic conversations for the year, so it's really critical that we tune in and listen at this point to the State of the City Address, so thank you for joining us. I would also like to thank the City of Chico for co-hosting this event with us, Italian Cottage for providing refreshments in the back. Feel free to grab snacks as we're going along. The legacy partners of the Chamber are really critical in moving Chico forward, and I would like to acknowledge them at this time. Levity HR and Payroll, Tri-Counties Bank, Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, and Golden Valley Bank. Our visionary partners also help us leverage the voice of business for community good, and I'd like to acknowledge them at this time. Alliance for Workforce Development, Anderson and Associates, Deer Creek Broadcasting, and Low Medical Center, Five Star Bank, Healthy Solutions Insurance Services, LRT Graphics, Transfer Flow, Recology, Butte, Colusa Counties, PG&E, and Walmart. You probably saw as you walked in, and maybe you grabbed a few, these yellow cards. So we ask that you complete one card per question and hand them to our young professionals in the room. Could you raise your hands, ladies? There will be other volunteers walking around throughout the afternoon to grab your question cards. Those will come to me because we will moderate the Q&A discussion at the end of the State of the City Address. On today's agenda, we'll hear a business climate update from 2016 Chair of the Chamber Board of Directors, Tony Scott. We'll hear a downtown report from Melanie Bassett, Executive Director of the Downtown Chico Business Association. We'll hear a Chico Economic Snapshot report from Mark Francis, past Chair of the Chamber Board of Directors and President and CEO of Golden Valley Bank. And we'll hear the State of the City Address presented by Mayor of the City of Chico, Mark Sorensen. Following Mark Sorensen's presentation, as I mentioned, we'll have an opportunity for Q&A with our civic leaders. On our panel this afternoon, we have Vice Mayor Sean Morgan, Mark Francis, City Manager Mark Orm, myself, if you have any questions for me, Mayor Mark Sorensen, Tony Scott, Melanie Bassett, Chief of Police for the City of Chico, Michael O'Brien, and Chief of Police for Chico State, John Feeney. Before we begin, I want to touch on a theme that we've heard at many of these business summits before, and that is public safety. We continue to host community safety meetings throughout the community, which you may hear more about this afternoon. But I want to encourage everyone to try to attend at least one meeting this year. We do hold them monthly. We move them around the community, and the intent is to really advance the philosophy of community-oriented policing. And I think it's really important, especially now that we all get involved in that effort. Now please join me in welcoming Tony Scott, Chair of the Chamber Board of Directors, to the podium.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Last weekend, I was fortunate enough to have my in-laws visit me from Humboldt County, and they've come to Chico in the fall, and they've come here in the spring. They've never been here in the winter, and they commented on how different the town looked without life on the trees. It made me remember the first time I visited Chico as a high school student about 16 years ago in late January. I was on a trip with my FFA chapter, attending a leadership conference held on Chico State's campus. I remember experiencing Chico as a very drab and dreary place. Growing up in the heart of the Redwood National Forest, I was accustomed to seeing green all year round. Trees never lost their leaves, the landscape never changed, and my view in October was the same as February or June. A stretch of evergreen billowing across a gray sky. Why would anyone want to live somewhere where it wasn't green all year, I thought. Thankfully, someone mentioned to my 15-year-old self that in other parts of the state, there were these things called seasons and climates that allowed for change. Even though I was used to a singular perspective, a climate that remained constant, but stayed consistently green, I never stopped to consider that it never allowed for anything else to break through or any new vantage points. Without the stress of heat or cold or any significant change in the climate around them, the redwoods, though regal and beautiful, will forever be the same. Here in Chico, we know that's not the case. We have a climate that allows for growth, for change, for new views and new perspectives. And if you've been here in July and August, you know that climate can get particularly harsh, especially if you're a transplant from a place that never gets above 75 degrees. Looking at our greater climate here in Chico, we know that in recent years, it's been stressed, that the business community has undergone stress, and we may have looked like big trees in the winter. We know that season has only prepared us, though, to blossom with vibrant new life. 2015 was a year of climbing out of winter. With the business state of the city's budget addressed and a plan of action in front of us, we remain diligent in tackling issues of solvency and public safety. The Chamber worked with business and local law enforcement to launch safety meetings in every corner of Chico, lifting the conversations from frustration to fervent action. Working with Team Chico, we continued our successful business walks, stepping into local businesses and directly addressing needs and concerns, connecting your businesses with the right people to solve everything from parking lot conflicts to labor law signage. We engaged with the movement in adopting a local T-bid and saw success in the passage of a mechanism that can help boost tourism to Chico. We saw development numbers increase, with single-family and multi-family home permits growing 35% over 2014 and a whopping 182% since 2012. And most importantly, in 2015, the Chico Chamber of Commerce released a 10-year community vision for this city that creates a climate for strategic planning, goal setting, and the establishment of standards for a healthier community. In 2016, our work at the Chamber will remain vitally important in ensuring a healthy business climate. Just in the past month, we've seen incredible results of our work in 2015. Several new businesses are now open, including Chamber members Panera Bread, Noodles & Company, Maui Wowie, and European Wax Center, and New Earth Market will open its doors soon. We also celebrated a landmark partnership with the university that ensures a safer community for all of Chico's residents. We know there are plans for more growth and development of existing businesses in 2016, and will continue to champion a business climate that supports this expansion of a vital tax base that allows for public services and amenities and contributes to our quality of life here in Chico. Our Legislative Action Committee will keep busy in 2016 with a keen eye on the Butte Regional Conservation Plan. We'll better prepare the greater business community this election season by hosting a candidates forum, and will remain steadfast in championing our community vision and progressing towards established metrics that will boost our business climate and the overall health of Chico. 2016's climate will be one of ripening fruit as we grow out of the doldrums of dormancy to one that supports growth, maturation, and above all, bounty. We have a climate that won't allow us to stay the same, and really, I'm grateful that that's the case, because out of this season, Chico will only blossom into something far better. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I'd now like to welcome Melanie Bassett, Executive Director of the Downtown Chico Business Association, to give us a downtown report.
Okay, I'd like to start just by reminding myself, as well as all of us, that downtown Chico is a very special place. It's a vibrant, pedestrian and bicycle-friendly retail and cultural center, rich in history and tradition, that we're proud to call the jewel of our downtown, of our community. This heart and soul of our community drew me to this area many years ago, and it has not been without challenges in the last few years. The Downtown Chico Business Association, celebrating 40 years, strives to cultivate downtown into a consistently safe, secure, and clean community center for everyone to enjoy. With its variety of unique businesses and fabulous dining establishments, many more to come in the next year, 2 years, our top priority is to ensure that everyone has a good experience in downtown Chico, night or day, and that they will return. As part of DCBA's efforts to improve and maintain the vitality of downtown and to promote economic prosperity, we've been providing leadership to PARC, the Chico Parking Access Resource and Resource Committee, partnering with the city to study parking management and the uses of associated revenue with the goal of optimizing retail vitality. So 450 new, I'm sure you all know, single space smart meters 4 parking lot kiosk pay stations and 6 red top donation stations were recently installed in the core commercial district, and a branding and education outreach program was implemented. Make sure to check out the godowntown.com website to follow parks progress. It's been shown in city after city that's been studied that managing parking brings more economic activity to downtowns by making parking more convenient for people. So this is the red top meter. I'm sure you've all seen them, and that is the inside of a brochure that we have been spreading around. Our downtown district is experiencing progress and growth. Oh, shoot. As Chico recovers from some very lean years, redevelopment and revitalization projects crucial to our future and development on investment, both private as well as public, are happening. Effective strategies are being implemented to recover neglected parcels, rehab outdated structures, restore and reproduce historic buildings, and deliver the sound environment that attracts and retains sustainable businesses. We're grateful to be working with our Team Chico economic development partners, including the city, the Chamber, 3 Core, Alliance for Workforce Development, and Shaving Concepts. A few examples include the renovation and expansion of the Diamond Hotel in 2017 that's coming up, been delayed a bit. New facade for the Chico Children's Museum on the 300 block of Main Street. Facade changes on Mary's Gone Crackers on Broadway, and the new beautiful Diamond Marquee. The Fox building is also being renovated for a new restaurant and additional office space this year. More than 25 new businesses have opened downtown over the past year and a half, and last year, Burgers and Brews, Momona's, Rallo's, and 220 Restaurant have opened and are enjoying success. There is an appealing demand for an increase in outdoor patio dining experiences, which I love. Don't you all love? It's wonderful to have the patio of Burgers and Brew be in the hub of our 26-week Thursday night market that ended in September. And this year, we can expect to see that outdoor patio dining experience come to life for several new businesses. Teller's Restaurant, next to Jamba Juice, LaSalle's, Crateville, and possibly Woodstock's. 2015 CNR Best in Chico featured 60 different categories with over 100 downtown businesses receiving top mention, and we're proud of those recognitions. In November, we unveiled DCBA's brand new, robust, and innovative destination website, downtownchico.com. Downtown businesses all have individual microsites where they can push out their deals, their sales, their specials, whatever. And so it is a one-stop website for all things downtown, and I encourage you to go check it out. The Downtown Chico video that's on the site has gone viral this week, so exciting. And in January 10th, the Sunday issue of the San Jose Mercury published a feature piece on Downtown Chico, which was awesome. As we work to identify sustainable funding, the DCBA's Beautiful, Clean, and Safe campaign continues this year to fund the successful downtown ambassadors, the cleanup brigade, and private security for events, as well as being on call for our business community. Funded by Friends of Bidwell Park, the cleanup brigade works 2 days a week from Children's Park, Lost Park, Annie's Glen, all the way to 1 mile. And last year, we held several large cleanup days. Examples included PG&E and their employees and families, and Stairways programming. And you'll see that our city manager and our police chief even came out that day. Boy, were students surprised to see the chief show up on their lawn. It was pretty great. We love that part. In September, the City of Chico announced the expansion of the Downtown Chico Business Association's campaign, Beautiful, Clean, and Safe. So many new partners came on, which is fabulous. There's some recognition now around the community of that logo, and that logo is purposeful. It's warm, it's inviting. It's not saying there's a problem, it's saying let's work together to keep Chico how we've always known it. Let's work together to keep it clean. A community campaign was launched, including bus shelters and stickers. I'm sure a lot of you have gotten stickers. Put them on your clean canteens, wear them, whatever you want to do with them, put them out there. And also with our partners at Action News Now, we had ads with prominent citizens giving that message. It's our community, our responsibility. Let's keep Chico beautiful, clean, and safe, and we're going to renew that again this year. So there is a renewed spirit of cooperation and collaboration, which is just really a great thing to see and to be a part of with the city, the chamber, the DCBA, the police department, our service providers, the university police, that we're working together on comprehensive and creative solutions that will sustain our downtown environment so that it will flourish and prosper into the future. In 2015, with new leadership at the helm of our police department, the reinstatement of the target team, we collaborated with the Chico PD, AG Private Security, and our ambassador program to make sure we had full coverage, immediate support, and resources through a community policing model, which we're all very proud of. Maintaining a shared approach to these issues that we all are facing in our downtown remains a very high priority for the business community. In December, the Community Policing Group and the Beautiful, Clean, and Safe Action Group merged. And this is a short list of some of the priorities that we are dealing with as a group. This collaboration between some of the groups I've mentioned, as well as our service providers, as well as the university police, and other service providers, agencies, mental health, Amlo Hospital, it's really great to see everyone coming to the table and working on a number of initiatives. There's not one easy solution to all of the things that we're dealing with, but this is a pretty ambitious schedule. I'm sure you'll agree. But there's more work to do, and we know it, including what Katie was talking about is the community public safety meetings that are being very well attended across the community. Homelessness, as well as the costs and problems associated with it, continue to grow in Butte County and the city of Chico, but let's be honest, across the community, across the country. The Beautiful, Clean, and Safe Action Group is aware of this fact, and we want the community to join together with us to support the solutions necessary to get folks up and off the street and leading productive lives. Believe me when I tell you that there's a lot of work that's being done behind the scenes to address these issues. We continue, the DCBA, to provide our 8 signature events that encourage and facilitate civic engagement and community interaction, the outcome of which encourages people to have a sense of ownership and connectedness in Chico. Our 26-week Thursday night market starts April 7th, and our Friday night concerts 19-week series, which we partner with the city on, begins May 6th. DCBA's main fundraiser, the 40th annual, that's so amazing. Annual Taste of Chico event took place in September, featuring Diego's Umbrella in the Beer Garden, Art in the Plaza, 3 additional stages of local music, a kids zone, and over 45 restaurants participating. It was the biggest year this event has ever experienced. The DCBA has evolved over the years into a strong marketing and advocacy organization that continues to support a downtown environment that will flourish and prosper into the future, one that we are proud to have as the heart of our community. These are our organization's strategic priorities for 2016, and this is just a fun photo of our board and staff. So there's a great deal of forward movement happening. That's the message I want to leave with you. And I invite everyone to be a part of the solutions, and we thank you for your continued support and partnership in 2016. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. I want to add something, too, to what Melanie was saying. The Beautiful, Clean, Safe campaign really started several years ago, and we've been collaborating on a number of initiatives throughout the years. But as we all know, the tourist shelter announced some financial troubles this week, and even before the press release went out, we had an emergency meeting, and all hands on deck. Our entire week was dedicated almost primarily to passing information along and trying to see, of course, what we as a community can do to help move the tourist shelter into a more sustainable financial future. So I really want to give credit to Melanie and to the Beautiful, Clean, Safe group for really, no matter what it is, if we're promoting an event together or if we're dealing with a crisis together, we really are collaborating. On that note, I'd like to welcome Mark Francis, President and CEO of Golden Valley Bank, to deliver the Chico Economic Snapshot.
Thanks, Katie. Well, first of all, I'm going to admit that there's no way I can talk to you and press this thing at the same time. I will let Natasha do that. Sean Morgan, it's always fun to sit with Sean Morgan at one of these things. He told me that he's sitting up there because he's going to heckle me, and I told him, no, you're up there because you're eye candy. That's it. Don't you agree, ladies? Sean's eye candy. First of all, I'd like to thank Frank Fields from the city of Chico. He helps us every quarter with the Chico Economic Snapshot, and Kaylin Chapman also helps put this thing together. I don't see Kaylin, however, those guys do a great job. Well, the Chico Economic Snapshot provides a look at the Chico economy by using 5 seasonally adjusted, equally weighted categories: sales tax, transient occupancy tax, the dollar value of building permits issued, employment rate, and average housing prices, and then comparing each one of those categories quarterly using the first quarter of 2007 as the base year. The Chico Business Confidence Survey is a 5-question, multiple-choice survey of how local business owners and managers feel about the prospects of their own businesses in the year ahead and how they feel about the local and national economies in the next 12 months. Our snapshot index is 99.7, essentially where it was in the base year of 2007. This is much better than it sounds. We've made substantial progress since the depths of our local recession in the second quarter of 2011, as the chart indicates. Let's talk a little bit about the components of the index. You have a summary in front of you. You're probably looking at it. The charts that we're going to show you are about each of the components, and that detail and more is available on our website at goldenvalleybank.com. Sales tax, up again. The 115 number is 15% above where we were in 2007, but it's 40% above where we were at the bottom in the second quarter of 2009. Seasonally adjusted sales tax has been on an increasing, steady pace for 6 years, and I really don't see that trend changing. Building permits, volatile. In the third quarter, 28 million in permits were issued in the city of Chico, and we're coming off the best 5 consecutive quarters in the last 9 years. Building permits were 3 times what they were in our worst quarter of the recession. And even with this volatility, you can see that we have an upward trend since 2011. Housing. Average sales prices from the Chico MLS were off just a bit in the third quarter. However, a single quarter does not make a trend. We are still only at 92% of where we were in 2007. But as you can see from this chart, the trend is certainly up from our low point in 2011. Transient occupancy tax, TOT for short, the hotel bed tax. This is the most recovered component of our snapshot, up 25% since 2007 and 35% from our low point in 2009. It really is a good time to be in the hotel business in Chico. TOT has been down marginally the last couple of quarters, but I don't think it's anything to worry about. Employment. Our snapshot is from the third quarter of 2015, and you can see that the trend is great. Recently, December employment numbers were released and have allowed us to complete our fourth quarter employment snapshot. The message is, we have recovered all the jobs we lost in the recession. In fact, on a seasonally adjusted basis, and really that's the only way that you can look at employment numbers and gauge trends, there are over 9,100 more jobs in Butte County than there was in late 2011. 9,100 more jobs than there was in late 2011. That is more than the population within the city limits of Gridley and Biggs combined. Employment trends in the county are up, and that is only good news for us. The Business Confidence Survey, on the flip side of the sheet that you have, is showing us that while we're still very optimistic about the local economy, local business leaders are a little less optimistic in December than they were in the last survey in June. I'll be the first to say that business leaders by their nature are optimistic, or they wouldn't be business leaders. You can see the responses. 63% expect their sales to be up in the next 12 months, with just 6% expecting a decrease. 58% expect profits to be up, and only 10% think they'll be down. 18% are going to be adding jobs. 5% expect smaller staffs. So that means that employment number that we just saw should continue to grow. Respondents are very optimistic about our local economy and local business conditions, but there is a shift. a lot less are optimistic about the U.S. economy than ever have been in our entire history of the survey. Our hot topic this time relates to the Chamber's number one priority, public safety, and it's number one priority of many citizens of our community. And it appears that a lot of business leaders agree. 64% would support a quarter-cent sales tax to put more cops on the street. Overall, this is a good report for the local economy. Again, more details on our website at goldenvalleybank.com. If you would like to participate in the Business Confidence Survey and you don't already, see me afterwards or send me an email at mark@francis.com. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to do a quick reminder about your yellow comment cards. If the YPO members can wave their hands again, this would be a perfect time to start thinking about your questions and jotting them down so we can pick them up and have them ready to go when the mayor is done with the State of the City address. Now I'd like to welcome Mayor Mark Sorensen, Mayor of the City of Chico, to the podium to deliver the 2016 State of the City address.
Thank you, Katie. Let her get technology up here with me. All right, Lando, go to the back of the class. Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today. This presentation today will be a heck of a lot more fun than the past two, I can guarantee you that. The past two were something less than fun. But we're going to start with a quick trip down memory lane just to remind everybody where we've just come from. And this was, it's a lot of clutter on the screen, but bottom line, it was the first glimpse in early 2013 that we had, not really the first glimpse, but the first compendium done by Chris Constantine at that time of how the city had blown through about $20 million over the course of 5 years and was still burning through about $4 million a year. Things had to change pretty darn quickly. What I call the reckoning year in 2013. We were running out of cash. Spending had to get quickly controlled. We brought in new city management, new city manager, new assistant city manager, new finance director. And I really credit Brian Nakamura for the first fellow on the scene to pull up on the stick. Otherwise, aircraft City of Chico was about to do a one-point landing on the nose cone. But following him, Mark Orm, Chris Constantine, we now have Frank Fields, who's done an outstanding job as our Administrative Services Director. And we had massive change, more change than this city has probably seen in decades. A lot of changes with a lot of esoteric areas of city counting, things like cost allocations, accounting, budget policies. And a huge one was something that we were told many times that we couldn't possibly get from a 20-year-old accounting system, and that was monthly financial monitoring reports, which we now go over almost monthly, hence the name monthly monitoring reports, which has just been an invaluable tool for council to understand financially where the city is and city management and department heads. It's hard to believe something that wasn't happening that was fairly easy to do. We have some concern areas. This shows our employer contribution rates for CalPERS. This year and the next few years. Interesting to note, 2018, just last year, we were told our miscellaneous contribution rate was going to be 35% of payroll. And this year, CalPERS says, no, it's going to be 41.4. And when you've got millions of dollars worth of payroll, those are some pretty big numbers that we have to adjust to. Today's CalPERS, or this year's CalPERS, cost around $9 million. And from what we can see, it's a pretty major cost that is escalating, even if we do nothing and we have no control. In fact, I sometimes refer to CalPERS as our very own Hotel California. You can check in, but we haven't figured out any way of checking out. One that you'll be hearing a lot more of in the coming years is our unfunded liability. And and how it's grown over the years and how we must, over time, get that under control. These are numbers that seem a little outdated, but our evaluation reports that we receive from CalPERS lag reality by about 15 months. A piece of good news, we now have 51 employees on post-retirement reform legislation, and that's a number that's growing and really wasn't included in those numbers, so we're hopeful that that gives us some relief for CalPERS costs. Some more from the past, back up through 2013, and what we were faced with at the close of that fiscal year is all of a sudden our financial reserves were gone, zeroed, and we assumed a $7.8 million general fund deficit, when in reality we should have had roughly about a $20 million delta between where we were and where we thought, or where we should be, based upon our desires for reserves. You're right, Mr. Francis, it's tough to talk and do this too, but I'll do it. Reserve fund depletion. This is something that you'll be hearing more about in the coming months as we continue to try to build those reserve things for building maintenance, vehicle replacement, all of those things that a city needs to do to keep itself up to date with regard to its internal infrastructure, and those were pretty well drained through the years. Things like technology, CAD RMS system, which is the computer-aided dispatch records management system that public safety relies on pretty heavily. The financial accounting system, which I mentioned earlier, is about 20 years old, dire need of replacement. Fortunately, both of those are getting done, I think, starting this year. And just those two are a $2 million project. These are huge systems. Computer-aided dispatch, hopefully the chief will mention it. This is a huge item for police and their ability to do their job. If you saw the systems that they use today, you would cringe. So it's something that we absolutely have to get done, but these are the kinds of things that were deferred for many years. I'm behind on my slides. Physical infrastructure, things like building maintenance, a police station that's no longer suitable for our size of a force, road maintenance, which is really a statewide issue. But we've identified many areas where currently we're not setting enough money aside to keep up with the things that we need to do to keep the city infrastructure modern, efficient, and effective. But now we get to move to the fun part, and that's the good news. All right, Francis, you were right. I know. Cash on hand. 2013, early 2014, had we not started the pullback on expenses, many of us are convinced by probably mid-2014 the city simply would have run out of cash, and that position has been very significantly reversed. In fact, as of December 2015, our general fund deficit is now about $286,000. That's a long way from the previous $7.8 million deficit that we started with just a couple of years ago. But still no operating reserves. We're keeping spending below our estimates. General revenues are trending higher than prior year estimates. Some of the earlier speakers talked about how sales taxes, property taxes are increasing. Based upon what we've seen just with our first quarter and state estimates, we think this year will be about a 5% year-over-year increase with sales tax. And some of the other important sources of tax revenue to the city are showing recovery. The result, by the end of this year, we believe we'll be starting to actually accumulate reserves and retire that debt. And I want to give a big thank you to our city management for making that happen. But going on to some financial concerns, as I mentioned, no operating reserve, no emergency reserve, when based upon our current budget policies, we should have between those two about a $12 million reserve, which today is zero. A lot of building and equipment liability reserve accounts that we need to work on. Currently, we think we're behind the 8 ball. Things like fleet, about $1 million a year, facilities, about $500,000 a year, $8 million in road reconstruction that we're just not quite able to do. We have some desires for our police staffing plan. Our next iteration of that plan, I think, calls for about another 6 police officers that we'd like to add, but we still, in the budget process, we'll have to see how well we can meet those hopes and desires. We have a SAFER grant that's funding a pretty good chunk of our fire department that's coming to a conclusion at the end of this year. We're hoping to renew and maintain. And as always, CalPERS cost escalations, healthcare cost escalations, and the economy, and the ever-present question of what the state of California will do to us, because they rarely do things for us. And if you have some time, we're going to be covering a lot of these items in great detail on February 28th at a workshop that will be open to the public, and hope you'll all attend. This is one that some of the previous speakers spoke to, but just comparing from 2011 to 2015, valuations of building permits going from 44 million to 108 million. So that's a huge increase. A lot of activity out there. I've had some very exciting conversations lately, including one this morning about some pretty fantastic things that are coming our way with regard to commercial building and infrastructure investments being made to the city of Chico. Public safety, always something at the center of our attention. But December 2014 versus December 2015, wow. That's all I can say. What an amazing transformation. December of 2014, we were losing police officers faster than we could hire them. There were a lot of danger signs in the community. It was, at least for my part, kind of a white knuckle moment, just seeing the difficulty our police department was having keeping up with the criminal element. 2015, interim chief Mike Dunbob brought along the concept of community-oriented policing, command restructure with Chief O'Brien, Deputy Chief Britt, Lieutenant Merrifield. Public safety meetings, we were able to make staffing increases. Social media presence began. Mr. O'Brien brought along a huge uptick in community engagement, was able to reinstate the target team and some of the other teams that are vital to proper proactive policing, because really prior to 2014 we were in a completely reactive mode. One of the areas that we've brought some local focus onto is the north of campus, south of campus areas, for good reason. If you look at the calls for service, they were just wildly disproportional for their size. Most of the arson incidents, virtually all the riots, out of control events, 60% of all sexual assaults in the entire city of Chico occur in a very small area around the campus. And that area just frequently demands 100% of our police resources. So it was time to bring about some changes so that we could alter that trend, because it wasn't just the fact that we were failing the folks that live in that area, but we didn't have the resources to properly serve the remainder of the city too many times during the year. And particularly in downtown, we noticed that we were attracting some pretty negative criminal elements from out of the area who were here. Among their goals, among their victims, their intended victims, were students. So again, reason to put some focus on that area of town. And some of the solutions And it looks like Mark Francis was right again because I think I'm off kilter. Don't quote me on that, Jolene. Okay, brought along some solutions. The conditional use permit deemed approved for alcohol establishments, which gave the city and the police department a lot of tools. Alarm ordinance and offenses against waterways and public spaces, those are really citywide issues, but nonetheless very, very helpful. With the Chamber's assistance, we spent some time down at San Luis Obispo to look at some of their best practices. And even though nobody in their right mind would run for council, but they would not run for council on a couch ban on porches. Of that I can assure you. But, and there was an editorial that likened that couch ban to, what was it, what are we going to do next? Ban dead potted plants on porches. But what we had was these flaming couches and other articles of furniture that were more than 100 arson incidents every year. And we were rolling literally millions of dollars worth of equipment and annual payroll out to deal with these things. They were frequently associated with great bodily injury, structure fires, out of control events. So they were clearly something that was not helping us. And none of those dangers are associated with dead potted plants on porches, but that one was. So we gave our fire department another tool to use and hoping to prevent some of these. And it's intended to be an educational opportunity to convince folks that no, you really don't want the tickets, you don't want the felony associated with an arson, and let's just try to avoid the trouble and allow our police to work on other things. You know, it's got some fines associated with it, but we're hoping that our fine revenue is somewhere near zero. You know, we're hoping we just convince folks. In fact, the university printed a door hanger to give to incoming students. In fact, down in San Luis Obispo, that's part of their welcome package, is that if you engage in some of these bad things, it's not going to work out well for you. Noise ordinance. Hearing from San Luis Obispo, that was their belief, one of their best tools for getting to unruly events and disarming those events before they got out of control. And what we had previously was just not effective for our police department. It required next door neighbors to report upon their neighbors and then made those neighbors, you know, want to give retribution to whoever reported them. So anyway, a lot of good positive changes, and maybe the chief here in a minute will explain some more of these. A major recent milestone is the MOU with the Chico Police Department, or with University Police. And again, this came from the Town and Gown Committee roughly a year ago. And the trip to San Luis Obispo really drove it home with regard to what it needed to look like. Some of the changes are that we now give University Police the ability to use some of our municipal codes where previously they did not have those tools to use. And then our police department takes over taking the reports and processing them from that point. And what we're hoping for is that this all becomes a framework for collaboration, efficiency, and student safety. And we lower some of those crime rates that we have in our downtown core. And I really want to thank also new University Police Chief John Feeney. He's been a breath of fresh air and really been great to work with since he's been here these last few months, and really embodies the type of cooperation that we want to have. So, in closing, I'm proud to report the state of the city is very good indeed. Far better than I thought possible 2 years ago, and much better than I thought possible a year ago. And I want to thank the entire Chico City Council for working very diligently for making 2015 a great year, and we're going to make 2016 a far better year. And now I'd like to invite Chief O'Brien up to talk a little bit about the police department, where we've come from, where we are, and where we're going.
So one point of business I must take care of. Tony, you're actually incorrect in your statement that Butte County is not green in the summer. It actually is because of all the marijuana that is grown. A sad but true fact. So good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor, City Manager, and Chamber for hosting this event. It is a privilege to speak at the State of the City address, and specifically the state of your police department. So when I took the helm about 8 months ago, I realized there was much damage both internally and externally, internally in our department and then externally in our community. I'm not here to place blame. It's not my place to do that, and I do not want to look back from that perspective, but really simply acknowledge that my immediate objective, taking over as your chief of police, was to build back your police department and build back our standing within our community. Several things we've done internally, and when you have an organization that serves the public, particularly the police department, you have to fix the internal, you have to make sure the internal is right for the external, for the service to our citizens to be right as well. So as the mayor stated, we adopted a community-oriented policing philosophy, and not a community policing philosophy that was based on past efforts which sometimes failed to recognize fundamental policing realities about having a strong patrol, a strong dispatch, a strong SWAT foundation, but understanding our role as guardians within this community. So in that community policing effort, we did several things. We restructured our police department. I took 2 captains that were in place, made 1 deputy chief, and then took the other captain position and made that captain a lieutenant to really strengthen our mid-level manager level position to enhance, again, our ability to engage with the community. And this restructure allowed that better access and communication with the public and allowed us to adopt a more community-focused organization. So building back, obviously you need to hire and train. I appreciate council giving us the ability, in the city manager's office, the ability to build back by adding staff. So we have hired 11 sworn officers, 2 records clerks, and 1 community service officers in the last 8 months. And we have currently trained or are training 20 current employees this past year, most of those police officers. That is significant. And one of the first privileges I had as chief was to promote several outstanding men and women who will serve our department and our community well into the future. And that was our Deputy Chief Dave Britt, Lieutenant Rob Merrifield, Lieutenant Matt Madden, Sergeants Ben Love, Brian Miller, and Jeremy Struthers, and Administrative Analyst Lori Tennyson and Christina DeGeorge. Something else we did that we just finished, we're not ready to roll out yet. I'll do that first at our department meeting and then share it with the community, because it is important that you understand and we understand as your police department our mission, our vision, and our values. Knowing who we are, what we do, and why we do it is fundamental to every organization, but especially police organizations. This mission, vision, and value statement will represent not only my directive, but the directive of the Chico Police Department moving forward. We have not had a new mission, vision, value statement for over 2 decades. It was time to develop one and clean that up. Targeting, as was mentioned by the mayor, the effects of AB 109, Prop 47, and again, ad nauseum, I know you've heard it over and over. I'm not going to rehash that anymore, other than to say every community in California has been affected, and certainly we in the city of Chico recognize that impact as well. we needed to develop strategies and ways to deal with what I have termed quality of life crime. And one of the ways we have done that, in addition to the community policing model, was to reenact the target team. The target team is designed to deal with those quality of life crimes, but to find and build comprehensive solutions to very complex problems. The issues of homelessness are not just a police problem. It's a community issue that needs to be addressed comprehensively by the entire community. And the target team is designed to come up and facilitate those solutions because they have the time and the expertise to do so. So right now, we have 2 officers and a sergeant and 1 community service officer that comprises our current target team. We eventually will have a team of 8 when we fill out our staffing. That is important. The target team is partnered with community organizations like Stairways, and actually have taken 22 individuals that were living in some homeless environment, most under bridges, and put a roof over their head. I'm very proud of that fact as well. It's what I have talked about, the dual role of compassion and accountability. You need both in the community. And I'll talk a little bit more about the accountability piece, but the compassion piece must always be there as well. They're not polar opposites. They're not in competition with each other. You must have both. I talked about community-oriented policing. A component of that is problem-oriented policing, and every one of your police officers this year has, as one of their objectives in your yearly evaluation, a problem-oriented policing goal or objective to accomplish during that year to further cement our commitment to that philosophy. So externally, what has occurred that has changed in the last year? As I mentioned, these public safety meetings where we partner with the Chico Chamber and Team Chico. I want to thank specifically Katie for her involvement, all the hard work. We really just come in and blab and listen. Sometimes we take a few barbs, but it really has been important to hear from our constituents, our community. We do that throughout our city, and we've heard very important things, and they've heard things back from us, but I think it's been a very healthy dialogue and a very needed dialogue. I know when I came into this position that there is a disconnect between your police department and the community. Again, I'm not throwing stones or placing blame. The reality is it was there and we needed to fix that. And these public safety meetings have allowed that reconnection to occur, and I think they've been highly successful. Social media presence, and this is an interesting one for your chief, because I do not Facebook, I do not tweet, I do not have a chief's blog, just for information. But I stand here and understand, having 4 teenagers, had to quickly add up the ages of my kids, and I see how they access information, and it's not the traditional ways that I grew up with or most of my life have experienced. It's different. They do everything differently, and we needed to understand that dynamic and kind of get on the bandwagon of social media. So we've had Facebook posts that some of you probably have followed and I think have been helpful in communicating things going on in the community. We have a new Chico PD app. I'm going to sound like a salesman up here. If you haven't downloaded your Chico PD app, it's available on the Google Store and the App Store free of charge. And again, it's another way for you to access your police department and communicate with us. Another thing that I'm very proud of is the Next Door phenomena. So who participates in Next Door in the room? Can you raise your hands, please? So right now, we've got about 5,000 people in the community that actually engage in Next Door, and I think that is outstanding. We have never had 5,000 people engaged in Neighborhood Watch ever, and really Next Door is just a virtual Neighborhood Watch. And I think that component, that connection that we haven't been able to make in the last several years, we have not maintained our neighborhood watch groups, is very exciting in a very short period of time to have 5,000 people in our community engaged in Nextdoor. That is outstanding. The mayor mentioned the MOU with the University PD. I think that is extremely important moving forward as your police department. Quite frankly, Chief Feeney, an old Irishman like myself, we would have found ways to get things done collaboratively. That would have happened no matter what. But this MOU cements in place that relationship between the two departments that will outlive both your current police chiefs, and I think that is important moving forward as a community. So ordinances, that was also mentioned. Your police officers need tools to do their jobs. And we've had several that have been passed, and I want to thank the mayor and the city council for making that happen for us. It's been very significant. In fact, I can't remember a time we've had that many actually functioning ordinances given to your police department to do their jobs more effectively and make the public safer. The conditional use permit deemed approval ordinance that regulates alcohol establishments, obviously in Chico, is a big deal. The alarm ordinance, which was not always fun for yours truly, but we got past that. A couple of wry smiles in the room. The offenses against waterways and public space, which deals with some of that quality of life crime that I mentioned earlier. The noise ordinance and the unruly events ordinance, which really speaks, excuse me, really speaks to student safety, because our parties, if you guys have been watching the newspapers, listening to the media, some of our parties are not just a bunch of kids getting together and drinking some beer. Some of our parties involve stabbings, shootings, and actual homicides, and that is no way for anyone to experience their life as a Chico State student. So I do thank the council for supporting all of those efforts and giving us additional tools to do our job. CPOA, which is our Chico Police Officers Association community involvement. I hope you have been paying attention to our police officers that have been donating their time and doing a number of different things in their community this past year. In fact, it was an amazing effort, and I thank President Peter Durfee. You're here somewhere, where are you, Peter? Thank you for those efforts. Things such as Back the Blue. Does anyone know about the Back the Blue effort, which is to essentially have the community say to its police officers that we support you, we support your function in our community and what you do. That is terribly critical in this nation's history where we are attacking our police officers as opposed to having constructive dialogue. We are attacking them without sometimes cause, and sometimes the collateral damage are the municipal police departments like the Chico Police Department, and Back the Blue has been an effort to say we support you. That's important. They bought a barbecue and have towed that barbecue around town to Movies in the Park, Tourist Shelter, North Cedar area, and the Vectors Veterans Home, and that has been a great success as well. They just simply barbecue hamburgers and hot dogs and just hand those out free of charge. And it really demonstrates to the public that their police officers are, guess what, human too. They're men and women, they're husbands and wives, they are sons and daughters. And to see them outside their uniform just being regular, being like normal people, I think is significant. I want to thank again the CPOA for all that they did in that area. Critically mentally ill protocol team. One of the things we have noticed in the last 5 years is a extreme number of calls for service that have involved the critically mentally ill, those that are not being treated, excuse me, currently. And some of these individuals pose significant threats to our community, and we needed to do something about it. We don't want to wait for a tragedy to occur before we take action. And this protocol team is comprised of the Butte County Sheriff's Office, Butte County District Attorney, Butte County Behavioral Health, the University PD, and the California Highway Patrol and the FBI, and your Chico Police Department. And it really is a working group to identify those individuals that are untreated, that pose the most significant threat to our communities, and finding ways to mitigate those threats before something tragic happens. I don't want to stand here as your chief of police and have to explain why something happened at a school, at a movie theater, some mass shooting, and say that I did nothing as your chief of police. So that group hopefully will help mitigate strategies in the future. The entire department this summer also went through crisis intervention training, which is a mechanism in dealing with mentally ill individuals. That is significant to have the whole department go through that training. We have not had that in the history of our department. I'm very proud of that as well. So moving forward in 2016, dispatch is a priority for us, just to let you know. We have critical staffing issues in dispatch. We are working to fix that. Dispatch is the anchor for every police department and fire department in the state. CAT-RMS, which the mayor mentioned, it's really a system to track and use data, which is very critical to every police department. And our system is over 2 decades old, so having a new system in place is very, very significant. Again, I want to thank the city manager's office and the city council for approving that. That will greatly enhance our ability not only to manage that data, but also to communicate with our police department or our community. Body-worn cameras. This year we will have body-worn cameras on our patrol officers. We have a grant to purchase 60 cameras. And I am confident that these cameras will only benefit our department and the good work that our officers do. Future hiring and promotions, that's going to continue. Obviously, we have still some vacancies to fill. That will continue. We're making strides. We need to be competitive, and we are. And we'll find creative ways to fill those positions. We have an annual report that'll come out in April. So we can, again, be transparent with our community. That's an important part of community-oriented policing. I have a new advisory board of very dynamic individuals that will greatly, I think, enable them to bring things to the public in ways that I cannot. I'm very proud of that board. Each month we have meetings throughout the city. We're moving those around town, again, to interact with our public in new and meaningful ways. And then finally, I want to say that nothing that I just mentioned has been accomplished by me. It is the collective work of a strong city manager, an engaged city council, and a community that cares, and a police department that understands its mission and demonstrates that understanding every single day. Wow, excuse me. So I said when I took my oath that I was humbled, honored, and blessed to serve as your chief of police. That perspective has not changed, and my resolve has not been any stronger. I am convinced that these challenges that we all face as a community, that we will find a way, that Chico will find a way to keep it beautiful, clean, and safe. Thank you.
Thank you. This is one of the most defensive speakers podiums I've ever been at. This is pretty awesome. I feel pretty protected back here. What a wonderful blessing to be here today. You know, it's one of those opportunities when you look across the crowd and you see those folks that truly do care about this community. In many cities across the nation, you don't even see this many people show up to something like this. You'll see the same group of a few folks. And so I compliment each of you for being here. It's absolutely extraordinary, and I really appreciate it. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to be speaking today. However, when the mayor asked me to speak, I said absolutely. And I think what you were able to see from both the mayor and the police chief, some very, very foundational issues. You've seen the scope of where we were, where we've come to, some of those puzzle pieces that have been put in over time. And the chief's entirely right. It takes an incredibly strong city council to make the decisions that had to have been made in order to get us to where we're at. And I will tell you, when anybody looks back and they're in the city management profession, this is almost an impossibility to get where we are in the amount of time that we have, almost impossible, and we've been able to pull it off. So congratulations to the City Council and a great group of city employees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus a little bit differently. I'm going to focus on the spirit of where we're heading and the spirit of this organization as we move forward, because it all starts at the top. So let me share some of these ideas with you. There's three: strategic, sustainable, and stewardship. These three words I'll get a little bit more in depth into. But these three words will be a focus of city operations in 2016. With limited resources and amidst the continuing recovery from the dramatic financial challenges of the not too distant past, the city will focus on strategic utilization of resources and our time. The city will also be looking to ensure a long-term vision of success in order to build a sustainable organization. And finally, city employees will look through a lens of good stewardship as they go about their daily efforts. For the limited tax dollars are not ours, oftentimes you'll see government say, well, this is ours. But these dollars are being entrusted to the city by you, the public. And thus, all city employees have the ultimate responsibility to manage every extremely limited penny in the most responsible and cost-effective way possible. It's fundamental, but oftentimes we lose sight of that. So let me focus on strategic. Like the successful private-public partnerships that are underway with Team Chico, for example, and Beautiful, Clean, and Safe, that collaboration, the city too will be continuing to break down barriers in order to create stronger partnerships in and between city departments and divisions. From safety services, which include police, fire, code enforcement, and park rangers, to the development services, which include building, planning, engineering, swift resource utilization and efficient communication channels will allow for the most strategic means of meeting the public service demands, and that's what our city owes our residents. And I think a lot of this will be achieved through technology upgrades, and we're looking at that very closely, and we've been investing a lot in order to achieve that. With an engaged and willing leadership team in place, it has become evident that Chico will shine brighter in 2016, especially in this area of strategic communication and collaboration, so I hope you see that. Focus on sustainable now. Sometimes that word gets hijacked and used in one direction. I'm going to hijack it, and I'm going to use it in a direction myself. It's fairly easy to balance a budget for 1 year. Let's be honest. 1 year, yep, we can get through it. It'll be fine. How about budgeting annually to ensure that long-term liabilities and potential or unanticipated expenses can be covered 20, maybe 30 years down the road? Not an easy thing to do. It's not very much fun either, because you really want to have fun right now, right? So certainly the right thing to do, isn't it? Budgeting to create a sustainable organization will continue to be the focus of the city in 2016 from an operational perspective. With the impending elimination of the enormous deficit the city faced just a few short years ago, now it's time to focus on bolstering necessary reserves and ensuring transfers are realistic and adequate for anticipated equipment and facility needs into the future. This focus will help ensure future generations of Chicoans can rely upon their local government. And lastly, I'm going to focus on stewardship. This is one I really take to heart. The reality of today's local government is vastly different from just a few years ago. 2008's financial reality check proved to serve as a spotlight. It revealed the glaring weaknesses in the structure and the stability of just about all local governments, and particularly here in the state of California. This reality check was unfortunately necessary for our great city. And now a new foundation can be built upon it, firmly establishing the truth that this agency has been entrusted with a great responsibility of stewarding public resources in the most cost-effective and prudent way possible. This means that we should not simply build something just to build something, but we need to build something that this community desires and ensure that it can be maintained well into the future. From the public streets, the public buildings, the parks, the computers, the vehicles we drive in, all the way back around to the budget. An emphasis on care, wise use, and investment in ensuring their longevity will be paramount with your city team. So let me repeat those words again: strategic, sustainable, and stewardship. These three focuses may seem natural and logical and should consistently be occurring, right? I think all of us think that. However, the truth is, over time, a renewed emphasis needs to be given in any organization, but especially government, with this regard. Without such reminders and a renewed spirit, local government can fall into the mentality that is detrimental to being strategic, to being sustainable, and having the willingness to realize that we're simply stewards with a great responsibility. And with that, I say thank you very much.
So thank you very much to all of our speakers for the State of the City address. We do, again, have these yellow cards. This will be your opportunity to ask questions of the panel. When you've written down your question, just wave it in the air, and one of our young professionals will grab it and bring it up to me. Before we get started on the questions, I do want to make a couple of comments. I had the great privilege of emceeing our 78th annual Dinner and Business and Community Awards last year, and this last week. And I was able to say how I believe, from my vantage point, this will be my 5th year with the Chico Chamber of Commerce, my observation that the city's resources are being used to their best and highest purpose. And I'm really proud of what the city has done, what the city council has done, what the community has done over the last several years. There was a time, I think somewhere in 2012, where we sort of looked around and said, who's in charge here? Because the sky seemed to be falling, but through a lot of hard work and teamwork, we've been able to pull ourselves out. So first question that we have here, I'm going to read it in its entirety and then probably toss it to the mayor first, who may toss it again to someone else. You know, we've talked a lot about police staffing. It is an initiative of the Beautiful, Clean, and Safe group this year. Will the city be able to fiscally meet the need for more police officers, or will the community need to contribute toward a staffing tax? Is the city and council committed to making sure we get this done either way?
Oh, a trick question. Well, we've been very committed to bringing our police force up to where it needed to be. And I look back on the last year and I still say, wow, you know, what an amazing job that has been done in the course of a year. We're still not up to our staffing that we've already budgeted for. Our police staffing model, again, calls for another 6 officers this next fiscal year. Will we be able to fund those? Not sure at this point. It seems unlikely. Will it be 3? Will it be 4? Don't know. We'll have to get closer to the budget process, get a better handle on where our revenues are. You know, as for, you know, the prospect of a quarter-cent sales tax, which was mentioned earlier, that would be entirely up to a group of citizens to bring that idea forward and take it from there. But I think at this point, we are at a point where we've budgeted enough resources that we can't even quite staff what we funded yet. So I think that's the first step.
What are the plans for replacement of major fire department equipment? I was told by a CFD employee that the newest engine is from 2002. Vice Mayor Morgan? Should be.
So first of all, I'm looking at our new Chief, Billy Hack, who I love and appreciate. The fire department has their new tiller truck, and how many new engines are on the way? 3 new engines. So the fire department, when it comes to keeping up with fleet maintenance, is doing very, very well. We'll just leave it at that.
Any other comments? This is going to be probably one that many of us will answer, but how important is it to keep the tourist shelter funded and open? Last night, 115 people stayed there, including 23 children.
I would say vitally important. In fact, that'll be the topic of a council discussion on Tuesday. First and foremost is to get a better sense of what their situation is. I don't think any of us have seen the detail as to exactly what the source of the shortfall is in their funding and how big that is, and then we can talk about how to fix it. But I had some discussions earlier this week with folks representing the tourist shelter, and they're still trying to get their arms around that. So, I answered it saying it's vitally important, I believe, because it serves an absolutely vital function, and if we didn't have that function, well, I'll leave it all to you to imagine.
Something that we talked about at the press conference with the Beautiful Clean Safe group at the tourist shelter the day before yesterday was the continuum of services that are available in the community, and how when one struggles, everybody really feels the impact. So something that we did hear Brad Montgomery, Executive Director of the Tourist Shelter, mention the other day was the need for 1,000 citizens to give $10 a month. They said that would sort of help them get a boost and maybe kind of sustain themselves for a while, ultimately looking for 3,000 citizens to give $10 a month. So they do have a specific ask out there that they are pushing forward over social media, and they do have a link on their website for donations. But I think it's really poignant to think about all of the service providers. I know Anastasia Snyder with Catalyst Domestic Violence Services was there the other day, Michael Medeiros from Stairways, Laura Kutsana from the Jesus Center, and we were all talking about how it's one great big sort of safety net that we need to make sure stays healthy and intact, to make sure that we care for the most vulnerable citizens in our community. So I think that Chief's comments about compassion and accountability are really critical here, because we need to make sure, while we tighten up on the accountability piece, which we've definitely done over the last 12 months, that we do still have compassion in our community. Next question.
Wait, before we leave that one, I wanted to throw out a little bit more information. We had a recent local government commission meeting, actually it was late in 2015, where we were talking about the subject, and included discussion from the county and some descriptions of the millions of dollars that the county spends on some of these identical, if not very closely associated with issues. And it was very enlightening. And in April, Paul Hahn, wave your hand. Mr. Hahn is, oh, there he is organizing an opportunity for all of us to learn more about what's happening throughout the county, throughout various service providers, and we think there will be opportunities for all of us to work together better and do a much better job with the millions of dollars that are already being spent.
Any other comments on tourist shelter? Is the city's unfunded liability still growing? If so, how soon can we apply dollars to stop the growth? You talked about this a little bit. If not, how soon can we start paying it down?
I'll let Mr. Orm add to this. It grew slightly. You know, CalPERS has done so much with their actuarial calculations. We got hit with, like everybody else, some changes because they made some alterations to their assumptions on their earnings, and then they also changed the actuarial tables because people were in fact living longer and were annuitants for longer periods of time. So that caused us to jump to an unfunded liability of about $99 million, which is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. But it's such a dynamic situation. In fact, on February 18th, we have a actuarial coming to visit with us and help us better understand the answer to that question. You want to add to that?
I got nothing to add to that. That was perfect. It's right around $100 million, absolutely, in our retiree cost, and that's an unfortunate consequence of the system that's been built over the years and not adequately dealt with. I think that there's been an attempt at that with this new level of PERS employees, and hopefully that will help. And as you heard, we have over 50 now of those new employees on board. So we're going to deal with it. We're going to have to. So yeah, I think you did a great job covering that.
Another question. We made the trip down to San Luis Obispo because they have the unique factor of having a major university sort of nestled right into the heart of their town. And we observed some tactics and ordinances that they had in place that we've been able to implement here. So sending this over to the chairman of the Town and Gown Committee, Vice Mayor Sean Morgan, can you talk a little bit about what's on the horizon for the Town and Gown Committee now that we've checked off a number of boxes that have been on the list for quite some time?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I thought you were going to talk about what happened in San Luis Obispo, and I wasn't even there. You were. So what's coming up for Town and Gown? That's a great question. I just sent out an email yesterday asking the Town and Gown Committee what agenda items would you all like to discuss. And those that weren't at the MOU signing with President Zing and Mayor Sorensen want to hear all about that. And I forget that it's new to a lot of people that weren't part of it. It seems we've been dealing with it for a year now, so it's like, why do you want to hear about that? This has been going on for a while. Lighting is certainly an issue in the South Campus area and parts of the downtown where the students have to walk. The cameras that we're working on putting on, what is the proper name of that bike path?
We're calling it the Chico Bike Safety Plan.
The Chico Bike Safety Plan. Those are to be the two things that I think are coming up the most with Town and Gown. The interesting thing about the Town and Gown Committee, it's really an ad hoc committee. We have a lot of people from a lot of different areas. The fire chief comes, mental health comes. It's co-chaired by the AS student president. The president, two vice presidents from the university come, and it's really a great place for everybody to come together and collaborate, and then we go back to our different areas and figure out how can we make these good things happen, like the MOU. It's very much, I would say, in a way, the chamber comes, I was going to say like the chamber, involved community members from the university and the city getting together and collaborating, saying, let's go do something, let's not just talk about it, the MOU being the first obvious one. But the question is, what do we have to look forward to? Probably the lighting and the cameras would be the things I would say would be the most.
Okay. So the next question really is about the ordinances that we have in place and what might be coming down the pike. So I do want to ask Chief Michael O'Brien to talk a little bit about the expansion of the offenses against public property and waterways ordinance to more of a citywide ordinance. I know this discussion is going to be on the council agenda, but what can you share with this crowd about what to expect with that coming forward?
Thank you, Katie. The first part of that ordinance really dealt with creeks and waterways and the Civic Center, which is City Plaza Park, and then the municipal building, city council chambers, that area and the parking lot. This really expands many components of that to the rest of the city as it relates to public space. And really, in a nutshell, again, it gets back to some level of accountability for everyone in this community. And if you're littering, if your dog is doing things that dogs normally do, natural things, and making essentially being a bad citizen is really a simple way to put it. This ordinance, again, will allow us to take some action that we haven't been able to take action previously. And again, it gets back to accountability. It's allowing our police officers, in most cases, and that's the other thing I want to emphasize, in most cases, simply by having a conversation with someone will likely clean up the issue and the problem. It won't result in a citation, it will not result in an arrest, but it gives officers a tool to deal with issues that have been longstanding in this community the last several years, and I heard loud and clear coming to this position that we needed to do something about, and this just expands that ordinance to a greater part of our city.
Any other comments on that? So sticking with you, Chief, bike theft was a major theme and community complaint in 2015, and it's gotten a little quieter, I think, with the colder winter months. But what do you see in 2016? How does the police department plan to handle that?
We have done a number of things to address that, and it's not just bike theft is really a microcosm of a bigger issue. It's, again, the effects of AB 109 and Prop 47. Pretty soon I'm going to blame my bad golf swing on those two things as well. And I don't want to do that, but it is symptomatic of a greater issue. And really our efforts with the target team, with enhancing patrol, really speak to all theft issues in this town, not just bike theft, but all theft in this town. And addressing it comprehensively, I think, is our approach and has been our approach, and I think we're making some inroads.
So this one is to Chief Feeney. We were at a safety meeting at Azad's Martial Arts Family Center several months ago, and you were very new on the job, and you said that you pledged to make the mile around campus one of the safest in the community. And it's really interesting to think that the majority of our youngest population lives in the most dangerous area in our community, and that's really unacceptable, I think, to everyone, which is why we shone a light on the Nord area, South Campus area last year. So, Chief Feeney, how, with the MOU in place now and the ordinances that the City Council has passed, how do you really plan to make that philosophy real? How do we make that mile ring around campus the safest in the community? Because as the mayor mentioned, that means we can more evenly spread our public safety resources in Chico.
Yeah, that statement is a vision statement, and making the campus and that mile around campus among the safest in the city of Chico is because it's not an either-or situation. It's either Chico PD or the University Police Department, but it's both police departments working collaboratively to provide for public safety, not only for our students, but the residents of that area as well.
Okay. So this is to either the mayor or the city manager. We've talked a lot about, over the last couple of years, about the public-private partnerships that we've created in the community. You're on the public side, obviously, and you work with a lot of partners like the Chamber and the organizations in Team Chico. So we have a question here from someone who runs a nonprofit. How can they really get involved? What would you like to see from the nonprofit sector, from the private side, certainly from businesses, as you continue to make these public-private partnerships real?
I'm not sure about that. First, I have a very deep appreciation for our local nonprofits. Looking at Anastasia, spent 14 years with Anastasia on the board of Catalyst, 9 years as treasurer, and 9 on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. So I have a tremendous appreciation for our local nonprofits. Look for opportunities. I think come to places like this where we talk about the needs of the city. There are so many needs in our community that nonprofits can assist with, and frequently nonprofits can do it much more efficiently than city government can. And I'm going to punish Mr. Orm and make him come up with an answer.
So absolutely, I believe that is it. Opportunity being an operative word, but it also includes communication. And if you need information on what's going on, like you see a situation, and you're like, how can I fix this? Communicate that to us. Let us know. Say, hey, you know what? We've got this situation going on over here. I'll get the brainstorming session going with my group of executive team members. We'll help figure it out. And if you can participate in helping us deal with it, we love the help. We're going to need the help. Governments can't survive on the funding mechanisms that they have nowadays with the advent of the internet and everything else. The revenue generation just isn't there like it used to be. So we need collaborative efforts with our community. So if you see an issue and you let us know about it, we can brainstorm it, we'll find a role for you. So that's what we need. So thank you for that question.
There's always a job for someone. There's lots of work to be done. I have an idea as well. On the city's website, chicoca.gov, there is a beautiful, clean, safe logo right on the homepage. If you click on that, it will take you to what we're creating as a one-stop shop for people who want to get involved in certainly public safety. The list of Beautiful, Clean, Safe Action Group meetings are there. The Chief's Community Advisory Committee meeting schedule is there as well, all of our community safety meetings. It's just a really good opportunity to kind of plug into kind of the existing circulatory system and be part of the solution, and nonprofits are always welcome to do that with us as our businesses. So the next question goes to the chief, and we've sort of answered this already, but we have a lot of ordinances that are already in play, and the police department is sort of coming out of crisis mode where you're kind of reacting to problems as they come up. What's coming up down the line for you this year, next year? Do you see staffing kind of balancing out a little bit? You said you're in crisis staffing mode with dispatch. What does the horizon look like for the police department?
So number one, we want to fix dispatch, the staffing issues that are there, and we're working hard to do that. As far as our police staffing side, we have 5 vacancies that we're actively seeking to fill. Again, we'll find creative ways to do that because the previous models do not work, and we have to find, again, creative ways to fill those positions. We have 5 officers that are currently in training, 1 in the academy, and so that'll take some time to get them up to speed. So obviously, we're not at our full capacity as a police department. I want to build that back to full capacity, which is 92 sworn officers by the end of the year. That will allow us to fill out our target team, add some depth to patrol, add some depth to our detective bureau, all critical functions in our role as a police department.
Great. So we're going to switch topics entirely. Let's talk about the airport. The Airport Commission had a meeting this Tuesday night where our city manager, Mark Oram, rolled out some plans for airport management. Can you tell us a little bit about what you proposed?
Sure, absolutely. You know, it's funny. Oftentimes what we find is that we think government's the solution for everything. And unfortunately, we also operate enterprises. This is about as far away from an enterprise that you can get, that airport. It's losing money annually all the time. And of course, there's always root causes to that. And will it ever make money? That's a great question. However, you do need professional leadership and management of the airport. And so this city council has allowed me to move forward on recruiting for that airport manager. And hopefully we can get somebody in there that can look at it, get down into the dirt and dig around and figure out how can we enhance that airport's capabilities and ensure that it can live long into the future successfully. The Airport Commission, I see Commissioner Chapman's here today, obviously has a lot of dialogue with this regard, and they want to be a part of it. So we're entering into an agreement with ADK. They're a consultancy out of the area, and they only do airport recruitments. It would have been really easy to fall into the trap of just hiring any recruiter, but you need to hire expertise, and you need somebody who's in the industry that knows how to attract those folks. So that's what we're moving forward with.
Great. Any other comments on the airport? Are we getting commercial air service back? No, I'm kidding. Don't answer that. Tony, you're the new chair of the Chamber Board of Directors. Welcome, congratulations. You talked a little bit at our annual dinner about your vision for more involvement with the millennial kind of generation in the business conversation, the civic conversation. What are your plans for making sure we hear that millennial voice and really implement it into the plans for Chico?
Thanks, Katie. Well, I think the Chamber of Commerce has already done a great job of doing that with the Young Professionals Organization. They're here today, really engaging in the state of the city and the health and the future of the city of Chico. Last year, the Chamber of Commerce sent out a millennial survey, got a ton of response of what do you like about working and living here, but also what are you looking forward to the future. And we learned a lot about that. Obviously, Bidwell Park is number one for millennials, which was great to see because we were reflective of the community. And somebody told me it's great to see that millennials are reflecting what everybody else thinks. And really, I don't think there's no difference because we're just a huge part of this community as well. A huge part of the employment base, and Mark Nemenek just sent out from 3 Core some really fascinating statistics about what is happening to the millennial generation and their lack of ability to invest into businesses because of student loan debt. Starting new businesses is not happening as rapidly with the millennial generation as it's happened with previous generations. So moving forward, the Chico Chamber of Commerce is going to stay vigilant on addressing that issue of building up great business leaders and people who are engaged in the community and really want to make Chico a better place.
Thanks, and since Tony mentioned the millennials survey, I'll tell you what surprised me. Something that we talk about with businesses all the time is the sort of lack of middle management workforce. Businesses are, especially manufacturers, struggling to find qualified workers to fill existing positions, and as we know, with 9,001 more jobs today than we had several years ago, there's a need for employees. We're very fortunate that we have Chico State in our midst, and we need to try to retain that talent to the extent possible, but what we learned in the millennial survey was that 25% of the respondents said they don't plan on being in Chico in 5 years. So that's a quarter of respondents saying, you know what, I don't plan to make my permanent home in Chico. So what we really need to do, I think, certainly as a Chamber of Commerce, is really dig into why. Because as we continue to lose qualified workers, obviously our businesses might suffer. So there's a lot of work that we really need to do to dialogue more with, I think, that generation and the students coming out of Chico State. So I'm going to kick this one over to Mark Francis, who was chairman of our board in 2015. And Mark really had a philosophy about shining the lamp, which we adopted because we recognize that by really investing in our community, not only are we more attractive to investors or maybe businesses that want to move here, but we also benefit ourselves. So Mark, can you talk a little bit about, and including kind of what you mentioned in the Chico Economic Snapshot, what does shining the lamp mean long term?
I've been in this community a long time and been a part of economic development efforts for, almost 30 years. And outbound economic development is tough. It is really difficult. Number one, we're in California, right? That makes it really difficult to recruit businesses to our area. And as I mentioned at the chamber dinner, when my daughter came along and asked me to help her clean up her car because she wanted to sell it, and we did that after several hours and noticed, hey, wow, that thing looks pretty good. Maybe you should have done this 6-8 months ago, and you could have enjoyed it the whole time and had a nice, clean, good-looking car to then sell. And that's what shining the lamp is all about. We have to make this community as attractive as we possibly can, and others will show up. And we'll get to enjoy it at the same time. And that's what shining the lamp is all about. And I hope it's a concept that the Chamber can carry forward for years to come.
Well, I think with the adoption of a 10-year community vision, we'll probably be talking about that for a while. So that happened on Mark's watch, so thank you very much for that, Mark. Big job. Melanie, you talked a lot about recent investment in downtown. When we did the retail market analysis several years ago, it pointed out that when downtown struggles, when the retail industry in downtown struggles, the entire retail industry in Chico struggles, because we are a retail hub for the North State, so we draw in a lot of dollars from out of the area. And without a centralized downtown, we become less attractive for people looking to shop and do business in Chico. So I know economic development is something that has been tough to really talk about with regard to downtown because clean and safe issues have been so prominent. Right. But what is the long-term plan for filling those vacancies in downtown, and what can we expect downtown to look like in 3 to 5 years?
Oh, that's a great question. Loaded question. As Katie said, a lot of our energy, our resources have gone to really making sure that downtown has been clean and safe. But we've also put together a retail development team consisting of some commercial real estate folks and people that care about the downtown and the future of the downtown, like Audrey Taylor, a great consultant that works outside of Chico and has brought a breadth of knowledge to our committee as well. But I did mention today some of the upgrades, the facades, the new business that's coming to town. In order to, show prospects the possibility of coming and setting up business in downtown, we have to make sure that it's presentable. So we are working on some of the recommendations that came out of the retail market analysis. I don't have those in front of me, but really looking to see what are the hot spots downtown, what are some of the things that, what are some of the addresses that really need attention. Obviously, the one block of Main Street has been a concern of ours, but with the Children's Museum going in, we're really hoping to elevate that block. But there are some other hot spots that we're looking at as a committee, and we'll be working on those going forward. I don't have the long-term, answer to the question.
No, but it looks positive.
Yes, absolutely.
Which we're very happy about.
Yeah.
So that concludes the Q&A portion of the program, but I want to just say a few more things. The next community safety meeting is February 11th, and that is at Transfer Flow at 5:30 p.m. out at the airport. In March, we'll be at the Chico Mall. I saw Tracy, the manager of Chico Mall, if you want to raise your hand. She'll be hosting us in March. In April, we'll be back here for the Mangrove, Valambrosia, Bidwell Park safety meeting. This will be number 2 in this area. In May, we'll be back downtown, and then throughout the rest of the year, we'll be moving around. I want to say we did 4 on the Nord Corridor, South Campus area in 2015, and we basically went in with nothing and walked away with a community built around some common vision for the area. So it really is possible to make change in partnership with the city. So I'd like to thank Mayor Sorensen for delivering our State of the City address. guests, Tony for giving us a business climate update, Melanie for the downtown report, Mark with Chico Economic Snapshot, Sean, Mark, Chief Feeney, Chief O'Brien for being here with us today, and all of you for spending your Friday afternoon with us. Have a great one. Thanks.